Okay. Okay. So welcome, everyone. I hope you, first of all had a chance to take a look at the agenda. Was there anybody who didn't get the agenda? We're going to show it as well, but okay. So I'm going to assume most people got the agenda. And there goes my dog, right on cue. Yay. So I'm Carla Shove with San Mateo County Parks. I'm the person that bombards you with emails and updates and everything else. This is the Flood Park Working Group. Really important role to play in this next phase of the Realize Flood Park. But before we get started, I do, and we go around to make introductions, I want to introduce a new member of the working group. Jonathan Gibbons has graciously agreed to join us, and he has some great knowledge, especially as it relates to Little League ball fields and needs. And he really sort of fills the role that is left void by Todd Zio with the city of Menlo Park, who recently left the city and so isn't a part of this group anymore. Jonathan, do you mind giving a little bit of introduction and information about yourself? Then we'll go around and reintroduce everybody to one another.
Yeah, sure. I'm John O'Gibbs, and I've been kind of eyeing this project for a while, and so I'm really excited to be involved in it. One of the things that's driving me right now is I'm the district administrator for Little League District 52. Excuse me. So that's the organization that runs at the county level. And we have a lot of need for more athletic fields, especially for the older kids, to the point where we are sending kids home because we don't have enough fields for them to play on. Solving that problem is kind of one of the top things on our list. And I'm hoping that through a variety of other uses as well, that the field at Flood Park can help us solve that problem. I've done this a few times. I've been involved in work at Red Morton Park in Redwood City and at the Belmont Sports Complex in Belmont, as well as some other of the fields around. So I've kind of gone through this with Parks and Rec groups a few times to make sure that what we build matches kind of what the needs are out there in the community. So that's my sort of specific hook. But I'm interested in the whole project, and looks like good stuff to come.
Thanks, Jonathan. Should we go around and introduce maybe the CMG and then the Parks team, and then we'll go around to the different working group members? So I already introduced myself, so I'm off the hook. Oh, somebody else go.
Nicholas and Christina.
I was going to say I'll go next. Nicholas Calderon, Director of the San Mateo County Parks Department, and really just wanted to thank all of you for dedicating your time to helping us with this. This is obviously a very important project for us in the community, and I'm very excited to be able to be part of it, and I'm very appreciative that you all and members of the public are also committed to seeing this project through. So thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Fitzgerald. Nice to see you all again. And Jono, nice to meet you. I'm a project manager that is helping the county facilitate this project. So I'm sort of your liaison between the county team and our consultant team. So with that, I'll have Chris introduce himself.
Hello, everyone, again, and nice to meet you, Jono. I'm Chris Guillard, a partner with CMG Landscape Architecture, and we're the lead consultant on a big team that's working with the county to refine the design and move toward implementation. Miranda, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, hello, everyone. I'm Miranda Maupin, and I am with Skio Solutions, and I'm supporting CMG in the county on community engagement strategy.
I'll speak. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Lillian Tashiro. I'm the Deputy Director at the Sheriff Activities League. We run a lot of after-school programs and after-school sports.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Wendy Segovia from Casa Círculo Cultural, and we are helping with outreach of the community here in North Fair Oaks. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. We're doing members now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Rich Farrick. I'm a neighbor of the park. I live, a few houses down from the suburban, from the flood park entry. I'm an avid bird watcher, so I've been using flood park for years in that capacity, and I have been involved with Little League Baseball, both at Menlo Atherton and at the district level with Jono. So that's how we know each other. So that's sort of my background and interest in the project.
Hi, I'm Scott Marshall, and we live in Menlo Park, not too far away from Flood Park. I was part of the Environmental Quality Commission for 7.5 years, a volunteer for that. I was then part of the Heritage Tree Task Force when they were revising their Heritage Tree ordinance. And here I am, a very interested neighbor and community member, and hope that we can get things working for everybody.
All right.
Oh, there's Alice.
Alice, yep.
Alice, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, I live adjacent to Flood Park. I've been here for 37 years. I've raised a couple of kids who played soccer and baseball. I have a grandson now who's just joined the Little League team. And we love the park. I feel like I wear several hats in this process. I've been following all the way since 2015 and had many chats with Nicholas and people. I guess my biggest hat is that when I realized that the second multi-purpose field, the second ball field, was located, planned, proposed for the heart of the woodland area, my heart just sank. And I started talking to a number of people. We have a group that you may have all heard about, I hope you have, floodpark.org, with a website. We started a petition a year ago in April that just requests that new amenities be built under and around the trees, that the trees are very important in the park, one of the most important assets to all of us in the park. So we have this petition that has almost 3,400 signatures, and people are just very concerned about the stewardship of the woodland as one of the most valuable assets. So I'm here to help in any way I can with that. We're all looking forward to this park, the new renovations.
Thanks. Chris, let's see, Christina, I think I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, I can go ahead and share the agenda here. Oh, wrong share, my apologies. Did that work for everyone? Can you see the agenda?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's a little small.
Great, let me enlarge it a little bit for you.
Great.
Yep.
Better, okay. Christina, you want me to go ahead and just give an overview of the agenda?
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay, great. So yeah, we're going to start off with a debrief from the first workshop, where we'll share out a few of our key observations and themes that came out of that first workshop. We want to hear from you all, for those of you who attended and those who weren't able to, but were able to review some of the follow-up material. And then we'll have a little bit of a discussion about that. And then from there, we're going to move on to an overview of the upcoming engagement process that we've outlined, in part based on what we learned in the first workshop. And then we'll touch on an overview of some of the next steps in our design process in terms of how we're going to move forward with the refinement of the plan, and then ultimately the review and evaluation of alternatives for the refined park design. And then we'll wrap up with an overview of the survey that we're planning to launch on March 11th and some of the outreach strategies that we'd like to talk with the working group about in terms of what you all can do to help the county get the word out about the survey and have people participate in some of the upcoming events. So that's an overview of the agenda. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share so that we can see each other. And Christina is going to walk through the workshop debrief.
Okay, so just curious to see how many of you were able to attend the workshop that we had on February 2nd, just kind of show of hands. Okay, good, most of you, it looks like. So we had talked about the working group being sort of our opportunity here for us to discuss both before the workshops and after them to find out ways we can help have all of you engage with the community, have the workshop, and then have a debrief afterwards. So that's kind of our first topic here on the agenda, that we want to share with you what we heard, but then we also want to hear from all of you about your take on what the workshop sort of outcome was. So we've had a fairly decent turnout. We had about 80 to 85 participants. Depends on how you count the numbers. That it did show up to 100 participants at one point in time, but that did include all of members of the county and the consultant team as well. But we had about 80 or 85 participants from the public that attended, but we do know that didn't necessarily represent all the voices in the community. We did hear a very large voice representing sort of the concern for trees in the community, but we know that there were more people that did not attend the first workshop, which is part of why we're rolling out a more robust engagement strategy as well. So Chris will get into that in a little bit. We do know the virtual format was a little bit challenging, that ideally in a non-COVID world, we'd all be meeting in person instead. And so I think the breakout rooms made it a little bit difficult to have a very engaged dialogue, that a lot of it was presentation time and that we didn't get a chance to really engage in the way that we'd like to through a virtual format. But the good news is we did hear a lot of information in the chats, I think, which was really helpful for us to see what people would like to post. We did go back and review all of the information that we saw as well in recordings. And so we do have a pretty good documentation, at least, of what people were expressing. So generally, with participants expressed that there was a lot of support for new facilities, which is great. That was what we heard as well in the landscape plan phase, but a lot of support for new facilities, including the sports fields, pickleball in particular, play structures, natural areas. People were very excited about the Magical Bridge partnership that we're going to have as far as the play areas. So it was a lot of good support in that direction. We obviously heard a lot of concern for the tree removal, that for those of you that participated in the urban forestry groups, that there was a very clear message from a lot of people that they were concerned about the tree removal. So we know we still have some work to do there in terms of how we are designing. We also heard strong support for using the Adobe administration building as a community space. That people are, I think, missing having that engagement right now with people. So we heard support for that. We also heard that people would like to enhance the picnic areas and try to minimize sort of interaction with other areas if possible, that's separating the picnic areas from noise. So we'll have to see what we can do with that. And then we also heard that people were interested in having more opportunities for dialogue. We know that there was missing voice, particularly from our Spanish speaking community. And so we heard that people would like to have as many opportunities as possible to provide more input. So that's a big part of what we're going to do in the next phase of engagement here with the survey and with some of the pop-up events, is making sure we're hearing all those voices. So with that, I'd like to actually see if all of you have information that you'd like to share, or your feedback on sort of what happened at the workshop, what your takeaways were, just to kind of have an open dialogue. So maybe we could just have you either raise your hand or just kind of take turns and be respectful of each other to just do one at a time. So I see Scott has his hand up first there.
Yeah, so I was, you covered what I think we all learned factually, but I was disappointed in the lack of respect by many of the participants who wanted to talk over the presenters. I think next time, and I mentioned this in an email, next time maybe the presenters have a group mute button so they can make their presentation, and then we don't have people saying, I don't agree with that. I mean, it's difficult, once again, with a Zoom meeting to have back and forth dialogue, but there is a procedure that I think we've all learned, most of us have learned over the last year or two, that you got to kind of do it a bit at a time. So, I mean, what you covered, I think, is what I saw too, but I was disappointed in just the general lack of respect by the public. So that's more my observation than factual stuff that you gathered anyways.
Yep, we noticed that as well, and I think that's a really good point. And I agree that, yeah, as far as the logistics, if we did have another virtual meeting, that we would do some things a little differently in terms of just muting participants until it's time for that dialogue and discussion. But we also know trying to have a conversation with 100 people virtually is not ideal. So we would like to do as many in-person meetings moving forward as we can.
And briefly, Scott, I want to thank you for bringing that up and bringing that up so early in the conversation. I, like you, was very disappointed. I think we need to be able to have conversations and disagree with one another or express differing opinions in a civil, respectful way. And it was a bit disheartening to see how that was going, to see so many people eager to interrupt and talk over people. And I've been a part of many heated and high emotion conversations over the years. And there's a way to do it in a far more respectful way than that went down. I'm certainly hopeful that going forward, we'll see a more respectful dialogue amongst meeting participants. But I appreciate you bringing that up, and thank you for that observation.
Thank you. And will we have an opportunity to have a meeting in public? Now, obviously with 100 people, that might be just as chaotic, but at least you would have dialogue, but someone can actually have more control of the situation possibly. I mean, anyways, maybe that will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm optimistic that we will be able to start getting to in-person type events. I know we're going to get there. So we'll work on setting kind of parameters when that happens. But again, thank you for that observation, Scott.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, who else would like to share what they saw or heard or something different that we didn't already discuss? Looks like Rich is unmuted there. So go ahead, Rich, and then Alice.
Oh, sorry. Is it okay? Yeah. Just real quick. Yeah. Kind of just want to echo some of the conduct was a little disturbing, during the call. But and I think you touched on it earlier, Christine, too, is just making sure that we do. And it looks like the survey might be a great tool to do that, to get to more of the users and potential users in future input gathering exercises. I think, we've clearly gotten strong input on certain parts of the plan, right? But there's other parts of the process that may not have, garnered as much public input yet. So.
Great, Alice.
I was going to say that I agree with what has just been said. I think it was just very frustrating. I had troubles with just the mechanics of it. And so I think that was frustrating for people, which doesn't excuse the rudeness, but I think it was very difficult, and that probably won't happen again. I was also really disappointed not to see participation from more of the Latino community, the ones that, we're all set to do the translating. I also just want to be sure that with translations, that we're not just thinking about translating from English to Spanish, but we need to go the other way, from Spanish to English, so that communication gets done as well. So I don't really know why there wasn't more participation in the Spanish translation room breakout, but I'm glad to hope that will be addressed.
And that is part of what our next pop-up strategy is, that we do recognize that was a missing voice from the community. And so I think we do have some good opportunities coming up here. Anybody else before we sort of move on to the next section that you want to share regarding that first workshop that we had? Okay, all right. So I guess, Chris, if you would like to move on then to our engagement strategy, or is it Carla next?
Carla was going to get a little walkthrough of the upcoming things that we have planned.
And actually,
go ahead.
Carla, before you get into that, I just wanted to kind of, I guess, provide a bridge to that transition. So we're, throughout this conversation, we're going to talk about next steps and pop-up events and how we're going to do really what Alice just said, which is make sure and do what Rich said, which is make sure that all stakeholders and all users are accounted for and heard from throughout this process. That's extremely important in order for us to have the right project at the end. But we have been told that there is a lot of engagement occurring outside of the process that the department has set up. And I just want to let everyone know that as we move forward, the department needs to be able to consider the feedback it's received directly through its process when we go through and develop the designs and CMG develops the designs. And so any process that occurs parallel to our process, but separate from our process, will likely not be considered. And so I think it's really important that the efforts of the group is to shepherd people to our process and make sure that the public is aware of the process the department is leading and the surveys that are available and the pop-up events and the workshops that are occurring, so that we can consider all that information together and in one place, and making sure that the final product reflects that. So any process that happens separate and aside from ours likely will not be considered at the end. So it would be unfortunate for someone to think they're participating in the process, and then in the end, their voice is not heard because they in fact weren't participating in our process, they were participating in someone else's. So I just wanted to let everyone know that's why this working group is so important, because we're supposed to be working as a group to get everyone to participate in the process. So I just wanted to bring that up so that we can all kind of have that mindset as we proceed with these conversations, and certainly happy to answer any questions on that as well. Sorry, go for it, Carla. I think you're up now.
Okay, great. Also, I'm sorry that I did not mention this at the very beginning of the meeting, but we made a commitment that all of our meetings would be recorded and shared and posted to our website. So I just want everybody to know that this meeting is being recorded. I totally forgot to say that. So you are now all forewarned. So following up on much that I think every single person here in this group recognizes that our first community meeting did not reveal the voices of all the many community members who we know are invested in this project and who certainly were invested in the project beginning in 2015. We knew at the time that Zoom is not the vehicle for everyone, and this has been proven in a lot of our other projects as well. But given the pandemic circumstances, that was the tool that we had to work with at that time. As we move forward and with all the news about, meetings and public spaces and even, indoors, I think that we're going to be having the majority of our meetings in person. But to that end, and in order to actually get the information and the representation from all the user groups, we've decided to launch a survey that will have about 17 questions. It'll be available in English and Spanish. The first method that we'll be using to distribute this survey is a pop-up event on March 11th. March 12th, sorry. March 11th is when the survey goes live on our website. So the beauty about this is that the survey will be available online and in person by completion of paper surveys at events and other methods. So I just want, as we get ready to launch this, and when we do, this is a really good thing for all of the working group members to keep in mind. And I think, as Nicholas talked about, and others have spoken about, is really reaching out to your groups, your community members that you are the link to, and be letting them know about events and the surveys. And this survey will be open for a considerable amount of time, beginning the 11th of March and closing the 28th, which will be right after our second upcoming community event. So it gives plenty of time for the word to get out, plenty of time for people to learn about the project, and then also respond to the survey. If I didn't state it before, the survey will be available in English and Spanish. And I don't, maybe I'll jump ahead on Chris's point here, but it'll be available on the web. Anybody who's registered for the project newsletter will get information about the survey. We will email it out to any of our past reservation holders in the park. So I think that's touching upon one user group that was raised in our first community meeting that they thought wasn't represented or wasn't being heard from. So we will definitely be reaching out to that group. And then also at events, as I just mentioned. So now, if there's no questions on the survey, because I know Chris is going to touch on it a little bit down the road, I'm going to move on to the upcoming events, which you see in your agenda item. The first one is Casa Circulo on the 12th, and then movie night in the park on the 26th. Are we all good? Any questions about the survey up until this point?
Carla, I think it's worth mentioning too that the survey is just sort of our next step in the process here too. It's not that this is going to be kind of the only additional tool we're using, but it's definitely a way for us to get some more sort of tangible feedback from people that, as we found, it was difficult to just hear anecdotal information at times through the Zoom call. So at least this way to provide some guidance to the design team about which direction to go on certain features. So this is just, one additional tool that'll be happening, but it's not the only one that will be out there. But the more we can have you help share this link and spread it to your community members, the more information we can get and the more we can provide a design that reflects what the entire community really would like.
Yeah, thanks for adding that, Christine. And also just for those of you who were with the process beginning in 2015, this is a really similar way in terms of collecting information, checking back, to make sure that we're reflecting what, the community desires, is interested in, and we're reflecting that all through the process. So really important. I think early on, we talked about the fact that in addition to formal community meetings, we would have what we call pop-up events that are a little more casual. And sometimes can be actually more engaging and more sort of warm and welcoming types of events. Don't seem so, big and formal. So the first one will be at Casa Circulo. And, Wendy is here from Casa Circulo, and perhaps Victoria is on as well. But Casa Circulo is a really important when I say, art sort of focused nonprofit, they're much more than that. They really are, true representatives and leaders in the community, not just in terms of programming, but also leadership development. So we're really happy to partner with them, along with Sal and some other of our community-based organizations in hosting this event. So more information on that to come in terms of start time, end time. But this is sort of our first effort to really go out to the community rather than the community asking the community to come to us. We're going out to the community where they are to engage with them about this project and hear what's important to them. And then the second event will be a movie night. If any of the neighbors are familiar with the fact that, movie night in Flood Park is a really popular event. And for this event, we'll be partnering with the Sheriff's Activities League. And before the movie, we'll have, similar to the pop-up event at Casa Circulo, where we will have information boards. We'll have people available to answer questions that people may have about the project, both available information and English and Spanish speakers, as well as the survey. And we'll have a paper survey, but we'll also have a link and a QR code if people would rather participate in the online survey. And I think this is just a really great way to combine engagement in terms of getting information out about the project, as well as receiving information and information for the community in terms of what they need, what their needs are, and what their priorities are about the project, combined with a really fun community event. And I'll just stop right there. And if anybody has any questions, welcome to hear those.
Carla, I was just going to add, at both of those upcoming events, we are also planning to have a few boards that are interactive that will allow people to engage with questions or ideas that aren't on the survey, that are more visual and aren't as easily addressed in a kind of survey format. So
yeah, great. Thanks for adding.
yeah.
And you'll be getting information, the detailed information about each one of these events as we get things refined.
Carla, jumping ahead, and I don't know when our next meeting would be, but Earth Day, well, around Earth Day, I think it's on April 22nd, there will be some activity in Flood Park as well. And with the Canopy group, some of my members have said they're going to have a little tent or something there, and they wanted to make sure that our working group has some information for the public when they're there as well. So it's a couple months ahead, but I just want to say that, and I'll make sure I get some stuff out there when it gets to that time.
Great. Yeah, we can all connect on that, Scott. So we're on the same page. Great.
Thank you.
I think Alice had a question as well.
Yeah, I actually have a couple things. One is I wanted to ask Carla, particularly if you all are planning to advertise these events on Nextdoor, because I have really consistently found that my friends and neighbors have not known about the movie nights or the squirrel abatement or lots of things. And so Nextdoor, I think, is a very good place to post things. My second thing is, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so we've been using Nextdoor as we resume our engagement and community meetings. I would also ask, and Alice, you would be a great voice for doing this, is encouraging people to sign up for the project e-newsletter, because they get information sent directly to them that way. And so they don't have to go on a Nextdoor, or they don't have to go searching for something. It's directly delivered in their email box. So I would just, everybody can really help by spreading the word about how important that is for keeping up to date with the project and never missing anything related to the project, whether it be the survey, events, or meetings. So yeah.
And just to add to that, that's part of what we're hoping this working group can do, that if there are certain forums like that that you're a part of and you see that it's not posted there, that please, by all means, post it and just say, here's what's happening. Here's an event that's occurring that, want to make sure you're aware of it. And yeah, as Carla said, obviously the most direct information is going to come directly from the county. But if there are other formats or other forums that you're a part of, please, by all means, share it.
Could I just add one other thing? A little bit related to what Scott was announcing, our group is also going to have an Earth Day, kind of Arbor Day festival in the park. We're calling it that, to celebrate the natural environment in the woodland. And this is going to be on Saturday, the 23rd at the Pine Group Picnic site. And we would welcome having the Parks Department and the working group people there. There's going to be an Audubon bird walk and a tree ID bird walk, and nature groups with information about living and stewardship of nature. So, we would welcome having one of the information tables be the Parks Department.
Sorry, wait, so is this the same, I'm sorry, Scott and Alice, is this
No,
the
these
same
are-
event or different events? I'm sorry.
I think they are, I didn't know about yours, Scott. We are just getting ours underway and collecting names of groups that want to be involved. And I was going to contact you and see if Canopy would like to be involved. We have the 23rd from 1 to
And-
4 scheduled.
And from my Canopy representative, it's We Love Earth Festival on Saturday, April 16th.
Okay,
So
Okay,
they're not at
well,
the same time.
Good. Well, we have 2 festivals.
perfect. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry about that. I wanted to make sure we weren't
Yeah.
Yeah.
crossing lines.
Thank you very much. Yes.
I think I'll turn it over to Chris now.
Great. So yeah, I just wanted to give you all an overview of the work that we've been doing and where we see the process going here over the next couple of months. We've given an overview of some of the engagement events in the survey. And what we've been doing is really working to understand in more detail all of the existing conditions in the park, how they relate to the 2020 landscape plan, and importantly, really that we received that was completed by the county, and understand how that vision relates to the existing conditions. As designers.
It's coming in choppy. I'm not hearing a good
Yeah.
portion of what you're saying.
Oh, is my mic not working well?
It sounds like it's maybe the internet's going in and out.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I have been having some internet issues, so I'll have to watch it here. But where did I cut off?
Kind of when you started.
Oh, really? Okay. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I was saying that just an overview of what we've been doing as we transition from this initial stage of site analysis into the actual design process. And so we've been really working to understand the relationship between the vision in the 2020 plan and the existing conditions in the park, including a really detailed review of the tree survey. And so getting out in the park and really looking at how all the pieces fit together so that as we look to develop and refine the plan, that we're really understanding that place. And that's an important starting point for us is to make sure that we're on the ground and not just working in the abstract. And so as Carla mentioned, we'll be putting the survey out. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the survey in a few minutes, but over the next month or so, we will be developing initial alternatives to refine the plan. And then we'll be gathering the results of the survey, as well as feedback that we receive in the events that are planned for March. And we'll be then evaluating and refining some of the alternatives as we work to develop the schematic design. And so that's our next step in the process. We will be looking at variations on the program based on the feedback that we receive in the survey. And so it'll be kind of a critical period in the design process. And then from there, what we're envisioning is that we'll take the preferred alternatives or refinement of the plan and begin developing the design in more detail. We'll be looking at the design of the specific elements within the plan, all of them really, and taking them to the next level of design, vision, and detail. And we're anticipating that we'll have another event in probably the April-May timeframe where we do focus on the design of the play spaces within the park. And that's not excluding some of the other events that you all mentioned, but we do want to spend some time focusing with youth and others on the playground concepts. And ideally, we'll be engaging Magical Bridge in that conversation. So the idea is that we will then refine all of that and we'll have a workshop, a second kind of public workshop that's scheduled for late June. And that's when we'll be bringing back all of the work that we're doing here this spring and sharing that out with the community more broadly. And we anticipate that we'll have a few more meetings with you all in advance of that public workshop to talk about the progress and the development of the plan. Any questions on that overall kind of progression of things here? Okay. Hearing none, I'll go ahead and just give you all an overview of what we are planning to include in the survey and really the intent behind the survey. As you all know, there was a period of time between the planning and community outreach that was completed in 2015 and 16 and now. And so one of the key goals of the survey is really to get back out to a broader group of community members to gather input on the plan. And the important thing for us as we framed the questions in the survey is to gather information that's going to help us refine the plan and direct the vision. And so the survey, of course, starts out with information about who's participating in the survey, just general demographic information, including zip code and age, and whether you have children that may use the park. And then it moves on to an overview of the features within the 2020 plan and the features that people are most interested in using, and talks a little bit about the frequency of visitation to the park for people, so we can understand if somebody's coming often, somebody is not coming infrequently but would like to come more based on the new program, and really trying to get at why people visit the park. Like, what are the things that they're most compelled to come for, both today and based on the 2020 plan. And then there's a series of questions that are very specifically focused on some of the sports and athletic programs. Because what we really want to understand relative to the baseball field and the multi-use fields is, what is the right configuration of those fields? How do they relate to other features in the park? What is the best sizing for them based on the wide needs of usage, whether it's youth or adult play, informal or more formalized league or practice play. And so we have a series of questions that are really intended to help us refine the plan and understand the needs of the community relative to those parts of the program. And then we also have a number of questions that are focused on the tree preservation and the picnicking program, really trying to understand specifically about how often people want to come to picnic at the park, and then also the size of group that they would typically bring. So that's a little bit of a kind of, I think, good overview of what we're hoping to gather by way of information in the survey to guide the design process. Are there any questions or thoughts about that overview? Yeah, Rich.
Yeah, just curious, after each question or at some point in the survey, is there sort of a free form area for people to, or is it yes, no type, is it I'm just wondering, some users are going to have very specific feedback. And if one of the questions doesn't touch on that, is there an opportunity somehow in that survey to get that input in to you?
Yes, absolutely. A number of the questions will allow for an other option, so that if the response isn't included, they have an opportunity to add information. And then there is a general question at the end of the survey, which allows participants to offer any additional information that they would like us to know or consider.
Got it. Great.
Anyone else on survey questions?
I know you have this Lillian. I know you have the questions or the survey questions in general. Will we have a look at it prior to it being launched on March 11th to see the content and if we're okay with it, or if it's good, or if we had input on it, or is it what you make it is what we're pushing out?
So, Chris, go for it. I can jump in after.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Nicholas, go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I think, what the survey is being crafted to do is really give CMG the data that's necessary for them to do the design work that they've been hired to do. I think opening it up for type of feedback and changing of the questions or adding of the questions, we run into some complications in the sense that the survey could end up getting too long. The survey could end up getting too complicated. So frankly, from the department's perspective, we're relying on CMG to take all that experience they bring to the table and utilize that to make sure that the survey is concise, but also gathers the type of data that's necessary. I do think at the end of that, when we collect that information and we look at that and we say, we may either say, perfect, this is the type of data we were looking for, or maybe there's more information we need to collect, and that's what we'll need to be doing during that, what I refer to as phase 2, which is everything between the 30% schematic and the 60%. So that's kind of how we're viewing it at this time. Is right now we're in phase 1, which is everything from that first workshop to the release of the 30% schematic. And then if we feel like there's gaps, then we would have to collect that during the phase 2. But CMG has put together a great draft of that survey or final of that survey, and understands what information they need to collect. So we're really going to rely heavily on them. No pressure, Chris.
Yeah, and I see that,
Lillian, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll say that, the framing of the questions in the survey were, very much informed by what we've heard, in the initial stages of the project workshop and our discussions with you all.
But with that said, if there's something that, the survey right now focuses on the experience, the amenities, and information that we've heard to date through the workshops. So if there's something else that you think, hey, you really need to consider, like now is a great time for us to just discuss that. But we certainly talk about what type of experience do people want to have when they come to Flood Park, whether it's, amenities like the picnic sites and reservation sites, the play sites, the sports fields, the natural wooded area. We ask about group sizes. We ask about all that type of information. So it is a very inclusive survey, but if there are things that people have questions about, certainly let us know. And if we haven't included that, we certainly can.
I think I just wanted to be, fair, unbiased, and wanted to make sure that the committee took a look at it as a whole, that every person was represented, and that the questions before they got pushed out, it wasn't grossly heavily on one side or the other, that the committee said, hey, that's very fair. And it seems like we're all getting the message across as far as we want everybody's input. I think that's what I was just stressing on. But thank you.
Well, in that context, certainly, when we do put it out there, if you do have thoughts, certainly let us know. In terms of getting it out there and promoting it, I think that this has been reiterated multiple times through today's conversation, but I did want to wrap up with any thoughts that you all have that you think might be effective for us and or the rest of the working group to help get the survey out as widely as possible and get a high level of participation by diverse community members. Alice.
Oops, thank you. I really think that signs at the entrance to the park are very effective. I think the banners there are good, but I think something that people can see as they drive by, and then also they can just come in, they can take a picture of a QR code, but something right there at the park that's in good big letters, I think would be very helpful. About the movie night too, I mean, advertise these things right there, I think would be a good addition.
Mhm.
Alice, can I just check in with you because we have a banner right at the park entrance as you drive in. We have one on the field and we have one out on Iris Lane. So I think I'm hearing you suggest that there should be another one either facing out towards Bay Road or
I'm thinking of something, yes, Carlos, right by the entrance. It could be up at the top of the kiosk or right by Bay Road, something that is specific about the surveys, something that is time oriented. The banners are good, but they are about the whole process, not about a specific thing to catch people's attention. So I think about the survey and the movie night, something that is just really big right there.
okay, got it. That's helpful. I wasn't, yeah.
The park hours would also be really good to have very clearly posted there by the entrance.
I mean, certainly I found out about this from signs in Flood Park, but I'm wondering how much there's been effort in putting signs up at non-flood parks that might be similar to, you know, what is being built here, because those are good candidate users as well. May not be actually coming to Flood Park, but would, you know, at the end of this process.
You know, I really appreciate that input. So if you all have ideas about other locations where we can put the banners, as well as any other information, I know Sheriff's Activities League has a few banners that they've used at events and so forth. So just email me your ideas for other locations. We're really happy to, we produce those banners so we can get them out pretty quick.
Cool.
Any other thoughts on how we might get the word out about the survey and for that matter, about these two upcoming events?
I was
Sorry.
I was thinking, obviously, the local newspaper, the Almanac, or maybe in Menlo is one way. And then there are neighborhood, my wife is a member of them, but the neighborhood groups, but I don't know the exact names, but I could get those. I could send them to you.
That would be
Online.
great. Yeah, that would be great. We send press releases to the Almanac. So we're at their mercy for them running them, but yeah.
And also probably having some of the park staffs on some weekends to be able to respond any question that the people that is in the park during weekends can have, or to give them the survey, or something like that also may help.
That's a good idea, sort of a walk around, park staff walk around, especially on the weekends when there are a lot of people just, either having flyers or, asking if they've heard about the project. So good idea, Wendy.
Yeah, especially now that it's, starting to warm up and more people will
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
And just one other thought, and I know David Klein has talked about this too, but a lot of the spring sports are entering their seasons now. So many leagues have opening days. So you could imagine the neighboring little leagues like Ravenswood, Menlo Atherton, Redwood City, that's another venue, to potentially get information out. So.
Yeah, that's good.
Plus our after school sports with soccer starting up, so we can give it to the kids to give it to the parents in some shape or form. If we create something like that, we can, I have my staff give it to the teams or the coaches to distribute.
Perfect.
Yeah, if you all could let us know, we can have copies printed and sent to you directly so that you can get them out. So maybe a follow-up from this meeting as to, if you all could give some thought to where you might distribute them and how money roughly you might need, we're happy to go ahead and take care of that. And then, of course, getting the word out on the online survey as well. Because certainly from a logistics standpoint, it's going to be a lot easier for us to compile information from the online version. Not that we want to exclude people, obviously, but yeah. Alice, did you have
I
something?
was just going to volunteer to pass them out at the Menlo Park Farmers Market, which is another great place. And maybe there are other farmers markets around.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Alice. When Facebook had its farmers market, we used to go there. But I can reach out to Menlo Park and, I mean, obviously we can provide you the flyers, but also maybe, yeah, let's talk about how we can have a presence there.
Okay.
All right, we're right at time here. Nicholas, Christina, Carla, do you all have any, closing comments before we wrap up?
I think from my end, I just want to again thank everyone. As we enter the survey and pop-up phase of, again, what I refer to as phase one. This is such a huge opportunity for us to hear from our park users and really make sure that we get off on the right track with a project that represents the values of our park users and the community. So really appreciate you working to get the surveys out to your constituents and appreciate the time that you're willing to spend with us to see this project through.
I just want to add too that I hope there is still some enthusiasm and excitement about this project amongst this group as well. I know that first workshop, as Scott mentioned, was a little bit disappointing in that sense, where it had a different energy to it than I think we were hoping for. And I think that there's still a lot of really positive things that are going to come out of this project. So I hope that the pop-up events that are coming up and the different activities and events we have planned, as well as just having the survey out there to get people engaged, that I hope we can still retain that enthusiasm that we had throughout the landscape plan. I mean, it's very clear the community is very passionate about this project. So I think that's a very good start. So I'm just hoping we can continue that and keep it in a positive direction.
Yeah. And in terms of, in our anticipated time of gathering with you all again, I'm expecting it will be sometime in early to mid-April, after we've had these community events and we've been able to, compile and understand some of the survey results. So I'm expecting we'll be back in touch in that time frame to revisit that information and progress on the design work.
So we'll make sure when we do launch the survey then on the 11th, that we'll make sure all of you get the links to it, and please, distribute widely. If you need hard copies printed, please let us know. We're happy to share them with you, or if you can just print them yourself, that's fine too. But please, come to the events, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Great.
All right.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.